say NMIXX is back with Soñar, which I wonder, this word soñar, it's Spanish for like a dream, right? Like dreaming kind of. So, but it says soñar breaker. So dream breaker, I'm not sure. But it's interesting. I was like, whoa, I didn't expect it. It just kind of dropped all of a sudden. So, yeah, let's check this out because it's been a while since NMIXX. I think Roller Coaster was the last one. So.
하얀 구름은 내 dream car 저기 붉은 달은 hometown 넌 달라 우리의 blood type 공상 가득한 our life
쏟아진 shooting star 궤도를 벗어나볼까 꿈꿔온 방향대로 우릴 맡겨볼 time go
Jump it
We don't wanna
Stop it
하늘 위로 다시 던져봐
한 발만 내디뎌 꿈속가는 wormhole
So fast 꽉 붙잡아 just like that Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar
No need to worry
Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar 구름 내 수는 꿈의 island Don't wanna see it, don't you wanna see it, baby Do you like it? I like it, yeah Don't wanna feel it, don't you wanna feel it, baby And
너는 내 bypass 앞을 막는 골리앗 just go straight ay 필요 없어 방패 세상은 액되고 but we got my name
꿈 속에 잠든 princess 남미 우리 다운 그룹으로 jumping wow 새로운 결말이 make it break it and change it
Drop it
We don't wanna
Stop it
하늘 위로 같이 던져봐 우와
한 발만 내디뎌 꿈속가는 wormhole
So fast 꽉 붙잡아 just like that Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar
No need to worry
Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar
끝도 없는 상상 위로 let me die
Putting it up, putting it up
Be original thing 매일 너 상상해 I still dreaming and I love that
Ooh, like it? 목소리를 twist it like this Ooh, like it?
Get it loud
Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar
No need to worry
Como sos soñar, a soñar, a soñar, ey Como sos soñar, a soñar Ooh, like it? 목소리를 twist it like this Ooh, like it?
Get it loud
So, okay, let's see. It's just the JYP. Okay, so it was Dream, right? This is the definitely the theme of the song. What's really cool about this is that this is that mix pop, like NMIXX concept, you know what I mean? But it's so, like the continuity is served by the chord progression and by the transitions between the sections, right? From the sort of verse and that pre-chorus section and then back into the chorus section. I dig the like expansive vibe of the pre-chorus section. Like the bass part comes in and it's so massive with like a ton of reverb. So all of a sudden, it feels like you're in this really giant space, right? And the verse section really has a lot of this Latin influence. You can pick up these dance rhythms in the percussion and in some of the bass and rhythm sections as well. So they've, combined certain sounds, right? And I think, to me, those Latin rhythms kind of actually are one of the biggest cohesive part, the thing that connects these sections together, even though there's a shift, right, that really occurs in the harmonies that are going on in between them. But the balance is so fine that it works, and it has this very cool feel all throughout. And this, because that mixed pop concept is sometimes difficult to do. If if the transitions are too abrupt and might feel at times like some sort of modulation or something, it can work too, it depends on the song. It depends on like what the vibe is and what it is that you're trying to accomplish or express. Sometimes a jarring sort of abrupt change works, and it serves like the underlying concept of the song better. But it all depends, right, on what it is and on what the approach to actually delivering it comes down to. But this one, I kind of like the tightness of the verse sections. In other words, it feels much more close. The space is not so huge, right, as opposed to like when they move to pre-chorus. And so it gives this closeness, this a little bit more sentience to it. And then boom, once you hit that pre-chorus, all of a sudden it's, and this can be like, it's cool because like a dream, I often dream, and sometimes like I'll be in a very mundane setting, like I'm just sitting here in my room, and then in my dream I'll walk through the door, but instead of being in the next room, all of a sudden I'm like downtown on the sidewalk, or like you know what I mean. But the transition is always very smooth. It's like I just walked out the door and I should be in like the kitchen, but I'm not. I'm like, in my middle school class, or like it's something way different, right? And you're like, well, I didn't expect that to happen, but within the context of the dream, it somehow makes sense, because there's this feeling once you realize like, oh, hey, I'm downtown. You're like, yeah, this is where I wanted to be. Yeah. But this concept here, the dream breaker, right? These transitions between the song sections are actually very well done. They're using that manipulation of space, the feeling of like, an expansive sort of environment to emphasize that, and pulling more towards the low end for some spots, and then sort of lightening up in other spots, and it serves the transitional points really well. It's also looking very cool, man, very pretty, and just very stylish, right? Like this is a cool concept. The look, like the whole vibe and everything, it's really, really nice, very well done. And they sound very, fourth gen, like it's still NMIXX, still more like in that JYP realm, but now pushing into some of this space that other groups like maybe Les Seraphim have sort of started to occupy in some of their works, right? It just has this massive and cool, little bit dark, a little bit of an edge, right? Like it's there, but it's not overwhelming in any way. Okay, so yeah, so even this first section, right, this build up, right, there's something very like Spanish to this chord progression. Dun, 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 dun. Like I can hear it with horns and, like that sort of bright, brassy sound. And it reminds me of, sort of Spanish compositions, almost like a procession, something like the beginning of the running of the bulls, or something grandiose, something that is like, an announcement, like, everybody pay attention to this, and then the whole like community would get like, they're in on it or whatever's going on. It's a procession, it's a signal, it's a call, right? And it's pretty cool. You have this swelling sound of the keys that's going on. That's basically carrying your progression. There's some very like bass of level percussion that's going on, and then this sort of like the obscure talking, or like little murmurings and things. Like it's definitely vocal. It's things, and this is like in a dream too, because people talk in dreams, but you don't always understand like what they're saying. They're kind of like wah, 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 or it's kind of like background noise. And so it's this beginning of the dream, like it's starting here.
하얀 구름은 내 dream car 저기 붉은 달은 hometown 넌 놀라 우리의 blood type 공상 가득한 our life
쏟아진 shooting star 궤도를 벗어나볼까 꿈꿔온 방향대로 우릴 맡겨볼 time go.
A lot of eighth note subdivision rhythms in the vocal, right? Like Lily came in pretty much straight eighth notes. You have a syncopated sort of swing-like feel in some of that lighter percussion, the sort of clinky sounds, right? Those clicky sounds, right? And that reminds me a lot of a sort of like a tango-like vibe, so that's just incorporating some of those Latin rhythms. And the LATAM fans are really gonna love this, man. Like this is super smart, because they're gonna get a lot of love for this song.
Jump it. We don't wanna stop it. 하늘 위로 다시 던져봐. 우와. 한 발만 내디뎌 꿈속안에 wormhole. So fast. 꽉 붙잡아 just like that. 겉모습 소녀.
So that pre-chorus section, right? Like really big sound, right? Like there were some dramatic strings in there, right? They're carrying along the progression and really just holding out whole notes. But then you had this massive like drum and bass, man. This like it sounds so huge, right? And it's really expansive. Even the vocal, right? Lily brings up the dynamic very well, but the way that the reverb and everything is applied to that, it starts to fill the space, right? It's not just that the impression of a large space is given by the changes that are going on in the mix, but even the way the vocal is handled suggests to you that it travels out farther, right? It's actually really cool. And then bringing back this rhythm, right, with these sort of syncopated 16th note patterns that are going on, that very dance-like swingy feel in the actual chorus section. Very deliberate contrast, right, between the this sort of main hook that's going on here, a soñar, and then Lily's, no need to worry, like that's so high, and it's like the dynamic is like way ramped. Like this line right here is it's a little bit more measured. It's like they're not trying to like yell it; they're almost trying to like tell you and like whisper it to you a little bit. But then Lily is like big and bright. I mean, like very, very intentional contrast, right, within the actual hook section. Another shift now. Very melodic, right? This sort of I guess we call this post-chorus, right? And it was almost like a real laid back, like we're getting into the sort of lo-fi beats to chill area now, right? Really cool mix though. And if you notice, it kind of tightened up that space, right? Like it was really big and expansive in the pre-chorus and then coming into chorus. Now these, like the delivery on this vocal part here, this melody that she's carrying, and even a lot of the mix, it brings you in closer, right? Like now it doesn't feel like we're in such a big space. This feels like it's much more up close. And that change in how the idea of the space is handled, the shifts in dynamics, right? All of these things serve the transition between the sections. And this is what's creating a continuity across the whole song structure.
너는 내 bypass 앞을 막는 골리앗 just go straight. Ay, 필요 없어 방패 세상은 액되고 but we got my name
Very cool.
잠든 princess 남미 우리 다운 그룹으로 jumping wow 새로운 결말이 make it break it and change it
Super fun rhythms, right? In those like rap bars. Yeah, it got really fun. They're incorporating some of that 16th note patterns, really playing on that swing like rhythm that's going on in the percussion, that sort of dance like rhythm, and having a lot of fun with that. It's it's like it's rapping, but there's such an interesting rhythmic pattern to it, right? And it's like it just works so well over this. That's really well written. Hold on. Where did we start this section? Okay.
너는 내 bypass 앞을 막는 골리앗 just go straight ay 필요 없어 방패 세상은 액되고 but we got my name
I love the way that the rhythm fills out towards the end of her line, you know, because she has some deliberate stops in there, you know, but once she gets to that last measure, right, the last like measure and a half of the phrase, it's just continuous, like every 16th note that's there. It's really well done.
잠든 princess 남미 우리 다운 그룹으로 jumping wow 새로운 결말이 make it break it and change it yeah drop it we don't wanna
I noticed between the sections, like what just happened there, maker and breaker, right, like there was a single vocal line that's going on, and then at the conclusion of that phrase, big chorus vocal, like many different voices at once, at least like three different voices. And then going into this now pre-chorus section again, you get that that big choral type of arrangement where there's many voices together at once. So even like it's kind of setting it up in the vocal, right? It's bringing you along, you're following one voice, and all of a sudden it just expands into several voices into the next section where again the space is like blown up here huge. Even in the visual, like this is represented. That's why we've changed to this outdoor setting, and it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we're outside around these cliffs, like it's this open landscape thing, and all the vocals are reinforcing that by in this choral arrangement, many different voices at once.
Stop it 하늘 위로 다시 던져봐 우와 한 발만 내디뎌 꿈을 속은 날 yeah so fast 꽉 붙잡아 just like that come on so soñar
And right at the end there, just like that, like the last line, right, all of a sudden it all tapered back down into a single vocal line that was going on there. But the massive drums, man, like there's so much reverb and splash on those drum hits, right? And then the strings that are going on over the top, and all of this sort of ambient swelling that's going on from the bass. And it's just a really cool mix. Like it feels deep. It feels very, very, it doesn't feel too dark, you know? It actually has more of a brighter sort of quality to it. The strings is a very specific sound in this mix that you know, because it's not like a big, huge, glaring, like, you know, bright sound, but there's this sort of sweet, lighter tone that is over the top of everything, and it makes it really pleasant to hear. Like it could get the danger with this that, you know, I think was kind of prevalent throughout the 2010s, because they tended to use a lot of this type of sound in Western music, but it got very boring, for lack of a better term, you know? Like it was very sort of predictable and wasn't interesting. But the way it's handled in this mix, it stays interesting. It stays interesting with the shifts that are going on in the vocals from many voices to a single vocal line, with these little elements in there like the string sound, like these things that add layers to it and keep it interesting and keep it within like a certain texture that it's building up. And this is like the right way to do this type of sound. Bridge.
like it?
Okay, so they just did it again, right? Like we move into the bridge sound, and you know all these, the bass, the horn sound, the strings, you know, everything's like building up, right? And they have these great vocal harmonies as well, with some excellent production on the reverb on this. Is making it giving it so much body, right? And just letting it ring throughout this space that they're creating. And the harmonies are, oh, they're really nice. And at the end of that harmony, we come back down to one vocal line, but it's again that sort of measured type of delivery, like the projection and dynamic on it is not super high. And then Lily comes in, right, with a melody over that, and she's got a really gorgeous line here. Like this is just a very nice line, man. This is like, you know, it wouldn't be anybody else except for Lily, right? Because this line is fantastic. The absolute peak that it builds up to, right, at the end of that, it's so, especially with that big expansive sound around it, right? The whole low end is nothing but support. It's like the mountain, and her line is way up at the top, right? Like she's gonna go tell it on the mountain. Like it's such a good setup, man. Like the structure there is absolutely brilliant. And what we shift to back into that clicky type of percussion that's going on, and the vocal tapers back down again. Like it's a constant swelling, a build up and expanding, and then it's like tapered back down to something very, very close and very intimate. And it's like those transitions in a dream, you know. It's very cool.
Twist it like this, ooh, like it? Get it loud.
There were a lot of sounds in that. Like, hold on, let me see. Let me go back to.
Twist it like this, ooh, like it? Get it loud.
All these, for lack of a better term, mouth sounds, you know, like some like breathing, some sort of like fricatives, like the sounds of your mouth opening and closing. Super, super intimate, man. Like this is the thing. Like they're shoving everything way out and like, oh, we're huge and we're taking up the space, and then they're bringing you all the way in, and as if they're like whispering something, like, you know what I mean? Like there's this sentience to it. They keep playing with this idea in this mix, and it's really, really cool, man. Oh, this ad-libs.
Like it? My twist it like this, ooh, like it? Get loud.
It's even the way it tapers down at the end, you know, again, that minimalist, all of a sudden, the clicky percussion, and even some of the little sounds that are going, ooh, ah, like it's a very nice tapering sort of effect that's actually just accomplished within the basic composition. I mean, that looks very sparse on the paper because it's just the clicks of the percussion underneath, and then these little sporadic vocal lines, and then that's it, right? Like it's a super clean out, right? But this, it's fun. It's got like a very fun rhythm. It's got these beautiful dynamics at work. The high notes, right? The big sections are so enjoyable, man. They're not overwhelming. They're just right. The build-ups are managed so well. The transitions between these different sections, like this is absolutely perfectly executed mixed pop. Like this is how you do it. It's so thoughtful and mindful when moving between these sections, and every single part of this mix, you know, serves it. Like there's a meaningful purpose to it. This is why you have the changes between big choral harmonies that are going on in a section that all of a sudden the last line is just a single voice, right? And then into the next one with a single voice, and building on the rhythmic structure then. Like certain dynamics shift and ramp up, and it's all to serve a purpose, like in the song within each section. I think this is a perfectly done mixed pop concept, and they used that underlying sort of Latin dance type of rhythm absolutely brilliantly. It gets the maximum amount of value out of that. It's very well done, man. This was really super fun. Like this is fun. The ad libs are great. The high notes are just so, everything's so right, man. It's so right. And it very much, is based on like this dream like concept, which is kind of impressive in and of itself, because it's like somebody really has to think about that, because dreams are all so subjective and it's different from person to person. But to find some expressive means to communicate the most relatable aspects of it, right? That's it's actually pretty impressive, man. Because it's not like obscure, it's not lost, it's not so esoteric that you aren't gonna get it. You know what I mean? It's actually really well done. Yeah, this is very cool. Like, this is a very, very nice track from NMIXX here. And I think it, like I said, I think this is like a brilliant example of how to do that mixed pop type of concept song, right? That all comes down to the contrast between the sections, but being very, very mindful and deliberate with your transitions from one to the other, because that gives you the different vibes, the different feels, the different characteristics of each section, and serves them very well. But it helps to keep the continuity across the song structure, and has this underlying supportive foundation for what the song actually is. And that's why we get these like beautiful peaks and high notes, and some these are some great little ad libs, like the lines towards the end of the song. They're really, really awesome. Lily, like it's Lily, she's got an incredible voice. For like within NMIXX as a group, her voice is kind of perfect for it. Like it's kind of like exactly what you need, exactly when you need it, and it's really crazy. But this is a super fun song. This is gonna get a lot of love. Let's see. Todo lo que puedes imaginar es real. Todo lo que puedes soñar es real. Okay. So everything that you can imagine is real, and everything that you can dream is real. This is it's a fun concept. This is gonna get a lot of love, man, especially from the Latin American fans. Yeah, they're absolutely gonna adore this. This is a great song. This is really, really good work from NMIXX, man. Soñar, it's fun, man. This Soñar breaker, so the dream breaker. Interesting. It's interesting. It's like very cerebral, but also very accessible, and just a fun sort of mixed pop, an example of that type of song. Very cool stuff.